Listen to part of a talk in a public health nutrition class.
People in recent years have worried about gaining weight and consuming excessive calories. However, for most of human history, people accepted hunger and malnutrition as a normal part of everyday life. The wealth and abundance found in many modern Western countries did not exist a few hundred years ago. Before 1750, most people were always hungry or malnourished because there simply wasn't enough food produced to feed everyone adequately. It was a vicious cycle. People's diets did not provide them with enough energy to produce food or perform any other activities, so food shortage problems were never solved. Even if you were one of the few lucky and wealthy people who had enough to eat, your diet was far from healthy by today's standards. Hunger and malnutrition were not the only issues, however. Do you know what caused a significant portion of the population to be wiped out from time to time until the beginning of the 20th century?
Are you referring to various epidemic diseases, Professor?
Yes, I am. Well, widespread disease, often caused by poor nutrition and a lack of effective medical treatment, also caused the early deaths of many people. More than a quarter of all babies died before they reached their first birthday. In fact, life during the early colonial period was bleak in terms of nutrition and average lifespan.
So how many years did the colonists live, Professor?
The average life expectancy in colonial America was under 25 years in the Virginia colony, and in New England, about 40% of the children failed to reach adulthood. However, during the Industrial Revolution, the life expectancy of children increased dramatically. Indeed, over the past few centuries, advances in medicine, technology, industry, and agriculture have allowed some nations to eliminate hunger and malnutrition for most of their citizens. The citizens of the United States, Great Britain, Germany, Canada, and Japan enjoy a standard of living that our grandparents and great-grandparents could never have imagined. You could say that public health measures, like vaccinations, control of infectious diseases, and guidelines for safe and healthy foods, have increased the life expectancy in the last 100 years. During the 20th century, the average lifespan in the United States increased by more than 30 years, of which 25 years can be attributed to advances in public health.
I just read an article highlighting the concern about obesity in the United States. Are we getting fatter because we have too much to eat?
I will have to say yes and no to your questions. The increase in wealth has been particularly amazing in the United States. Currently, the poverty income level set by the government is still higher than the average income earned in most of the world. The situation in the United States has reversed so much that instead of trying to feed the poor, much of the focus has shifted to fighting obesity. As societies become increasingly dependent on fast food, the connection between fast food consumption and obesity becomes more disconcerting. One study published in 1995 showed that Americans have increased their consumption of fast food by 300% in less than 20 years. Drinking of carbonated beverages is also considered to be a major factor in obesity in America. Thus, one can conclude that an advanced country like the United States is still suffering from the effects of malnutrition, or more specifically, overnutrition.
It is very ironic that we were struggling to feed people not too long ago, but now we are having just the opposite problem.
Unfortunately, this is not to say that hunger and malnutrition have disappeared from the United States entirely. Even with so much wealth, up to 20 million Americans are undernourished, but the situation is much worse in the rest of the world. More than 800 million people, most of whom are located in Southeast Asia and Africa, do not have enough to eat every day. Children are most strongly affected by hunger and malnutrition because they need more protein as a percentage of their diet than adults do. Malnutrition affects up to 400 million children worldwide, and a child dies every 5 seconds from hunger. Although there is enough food produced in the world to provide everyone with enough to eat, hunger and malnutrition continue. Poverty remains the primary cause of hunger and malnutrition. The people that are suffering the most either have no food available to them or do not have enough money to buy food. Aid groups are working very hard to reduce poverty in the world, but they have not made much progress at this time.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer. 6. What is the talk mainly about? Seven. What is the professor's point of view concerning hunger and malnutrition? 8. According to the professor, what were two factors in the reduction of hunger and malnutrition? 9. Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
During the 20th century, the average lifespan in the United States increased by more than 30 years, of which 25 years can be attributed to advances in public health.
Why does the professor say this?
Of which 25 years can be attributed to advances in public health.
Ten. What does the professor imply about the increased reliance on fast food meals? 11. Why are children more affected by hunger and malnutrition?